Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm going to be covering the full list on patch 13.3. So let's get into it. To begin with, we're going to have a small amount of Kale buffs. These do equate to something, so Kale is actually going to be better off in the meta. She's doing pretty badly at the moment. So let's get into it. She is gaining 2% passive movement speed, so this is when she gets her 5 stacks, becomes exalted, and then gains that movement speed. It's now going to be 10%. This will be a permanent thing when she becomes 16, as she is permanently exalted. The E on hit is quite nice. Getting another 0.5 on the AP ratio on this is pretty huge for damage and sustained damage. And then the E missing health active, or going up by 2% at max rank on this ability. By the time you hit level 9, this is going to mean quite a bit actually. Gives you some more execute power. It helps with like PTA and stuff like this for huge damage spikes. So Lee Sin is gaining 0.2 AD ratio on, well, it'll be the first cast of Q and then the second cast of Q. So overall, this is a lot of damage to receive on this ability. It is a bonus AD ratio though, not a total AD ratio. So this will help like lethality Lee Sin, stuff like this. A high AD build Lee Sin's. E is now a total AD ratio instead of bonus AD ratio. This has been slightly nerfed to I don't know why it isn't here, but the E has been slightly nerfed to compensate for this. But overall, it's going to be it's going to be a buff towards Lee Sin as its total AD ratio instead of bonus. The E is also having a slow increase from 2060 to 2080, so maybe we'll see some E max Lee Sins again. Kane is gaining some extra passive damage on his assassin form, 13 to 14 to 15 to 45, fairly standard amount of damage. Non-Ras Q is losing 5 damage flat, but gaining a plus 50% bonus AD ratio. This will help for the large AD builds, so assassin builds. I'm guessing this is to decentivize Bruiser and having less AD in your build. Trundle is gaining a W cooldown from 18 to 14 to 16 to 12. This is just a pullback on one of his previous nerfs. I don't imagine this will elevate him into any good spot, so we'll probably see some more Trundle nerfs at some point. But this will help his roaming and his overall jungle clear speed. Gives him attack speed when he pops this down. LeBlanc is gaining some bonus mana for 5 seconds. Mana regen growth is going from 0.8 to 1. Q mana is flat 50, and her RCD is from 60 to 30 to 50 to 30. This overall is quite a nice amount of buffs towards LeBlanc. This is going to free up her spell casting and allow her to cast a bit more often, just allowing her to get some more damage down. We don't want to give her damage because she already has a lot of that, and giving LeBlanc more damage will just make her it'll make her feel bad to play against, and she already usually overkills people, so it wouldn't do it as much. Support tanks I covered yesterday. These are things like Alistair Baum, Nautilus Pike, Fresh, and Rakan. Mumu is having his Q mana cost increased by 5. His E damage is going down from 80 to 200 to 65 to 205, so it's higher at max rank on this ability. So by the time you hit level 9, this will be good again. This is going to hit support Mumu more than anything, because support Mumu usually puts points in Q and doesn't usually put points in E, so this being 65 is definitely going to hurt that. But Jungler Mumu is also doing really well at the moment. The mana cost isn't going to do anything to nerf Jungler Mumu, whereas the E, I mean, is definitely going to hurt early on. His close speed is definitely going to be down, but by the time you hit level 9 and, well, it'll be level 7, he will feel the same. So it's not a huge nerf towards Jungler Mumu. Kassadin is losing some E cooldown refresh. It's going from 1 to 0.75. This is where people cast around him. He gets seconds off his E. The E damage is going from 80 to 180 to 60 to 180, incentivizing putting points in this ability. Damage is going from 80 to 120 to 70 to 110. This is a pretty big nerf. The flat, this will ramp up as he pops more Rs. So this is something like 10 to 40 damage, I'm pretty sure. So that's pretty heavy hitting. Cassin's in a really strong spot at the moment. The last nerfs didn't hit him anywhere near enough, so they're going a bit harder this time. Zac is losing plus 1%. Zac is losing, we're going from 4% per 100 AP to 3% per 100 AP, losing 1% per 100 AP. This is going to hurt his high AP builds. This will hurt his Demonics build a bit, but not too much. His E is also losing 10% AP ratio and losing 20 flat. This will hurt his jungle because his jungle E maxes first, top and other roles usually max W first. Cassante is going from 1 second lockup duration to 0.65. This is actually going to hurt him quite a bit. He uses this lockup duration to position himself behind you and then W towards his turret. So enough like this is actually going to hurt quite badly. The Q-stun duration going from 1 to 1.25 to 1 second. This is more of a clarity thing. It sometimes went a bit more than what it should have done. The W min stun duration is going down from 0.35 to 0.75 to 0.3 to 0.5. This is also going to hurt his ability to drag people into turrets, and his R is losing 20% of resist. These are really big Cassante nerfs. Cassante in solo queue at the moment, like plat below, is performing pretty badly. He's not well executed, and even diamond below, he's definitely struggling. So this is definitely going to put him in a pretty rough spot in solo queue. But he's really dominant in pro play at the moment. Definitely an issue there. I'm not surprised. He's overloaded as hell, and he probably is going to end up needing reworks like Zeri and Yumi do. But, I mean, I keep releasing champs in that state, so what can you do? Overheal is being changed from 10 to 9% max HP to 20 to 300 based on level. This is quite nice for late game where assassins will tend to burn through your health bar pretty quickly. This gives you the chance to survive that burst. Early jungle ganks is getting nerfed. Well, it's not really getting nerfed that hard. Treat gold is going from 30 to 20 seconds. XP from large monsters is going up by 10. Stealth Wall Trinket is going from 240 to 120 to 210 to 120. And tower damage is going up by 20, level 1, and 6 by 14. So overall, this is not going to do a lot. This is actually buffing jungle. Like, these first two lines of text are just strict buffs towards junglers. The trinket one isn't going to be that impactful. Usually you'll have a trinket out and get ganked anyway, because a lot of these will be dive junglers and ones which can get behind you quite comfortably. And the tower damage, yeah, this will definitely hurt those kind of junglers. But if you're balancing tower correctly, I mean, this is going to do very little, and overall, this is going to hurt champs which rely on pushing you towards their turret or being able to hold you towards, like being able, like forced to push up and like try and pressure people under turrets. Things like Renekton will get helped by this. If Renekton takes a tower shot, it's going to mean a lot more than it used to. 20 more damage is definitely going to hurt someone like Renekton, other champs kind of his class who would just want to pressure you under your turret. Humble Glaive is going from 40 to 50 second cooldown. Range damage is going from 3 to 2, and no longer into straps. This is a nerf to Senna, Varus, lethality, support ADC, stuff like this. Definitely going to feel this. Graves is another champ which is going to feel this. Yeah, it's mainly to I imagine it's mainly targeted towards Graves and Humble Glaive Graves, which is played quite a bit and the most used out of this, I imagine. Radiant Virtue is going up from 3,000 to 3,200 in price. The cooldown is going from 60 to 90. The max HP is going from 10 to 15%. And the healing is going from 8 to 12%. However, it's losing the ability haste aura. And the healing no longer scales with missing health. This is a big nerf to Radiant Virtue. And the users of it who like could utilize it on its cooldown kind of thing. I mean, things like Karma is definitely going to take a tag from this. Udyr also going to be tagged by this. Yeah, this doesn't. The overall HP going up by 5% and the healing going up by 4% does not balance out with these nerfs. This is really going to hurt most tanks which build this item, and most tanks do build this item because the other tank items are pretty bad at the moment. Iceborne is probably the next best, but it's niche, and Heartsteel and Jackshaw are just not great items. They have they can work in certain circumstances, but for the most part, they are pretty bad items. So we'll have to see how this ends up landing, what kind of happens with the tank role, and what their plans are to do with it. Tenacity is now going to stack multiplicatively, which is a big nerf towards Tenacity. This one's kind of weird because they just nerfed Legend Tenacity, And now doing this, it's just going to make tenacity within the precision tree really bad to take, and you're almost always going to take alacrity for like auto weaving and stuff like this. So there's a couple of question marks on this patch, which I'm surprised about. No release nerfs, which is also surprising. No Anivia nerfs. There's a couple of champs which are really strong at the moment, and they just haven't been touched. Blitzcrank is really, really good at the moment. Kind of hidden OP. No one's really playing him that much, but he's really strong. What other champs can I think off the top of my head? Olaf, really good at the moment as well. Yeah, but there's certain champs which are performing quite well. Not on this list though. Maybe they'll get changed in another patch. There are quite a few underperformers at the moment, but things like Mordekaiser Jungle got absolutely tanked in preseason with nerfs, all doing really badly at the moment. Shyvana top, stuff like this. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. It looks like the Pantheon buffs were taken out of this patch. So I'm guessing they were kind of scared about jungle and top lane Pantheon. Yeah, if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and I will see you next one. Goodbye.